Hello and welcome to Japan Lyric Room. In this show, we carefully appreciate the lyrics of Japanese songs, taking time to unpack the meaning behind specific phrases and uncovering the unique Japanese cultural backgrounds hidden within them, all delivered in an easy-to-understand way.
It's always so fascinating to see what's hiding just beneath the surface of a catchy melody.
It really is. And before we jump into today's lyric exploration, just a quick but mandatory note. The audio and illustrations for this video use AI, but the project itself is run by a Japanese person living in Japan, and the script's content was carefully researched and created by hand as an original commentary.
Perfect. So should we get into the story?
Let's do it. So the song we're looking at today is an absolute masterpiece from 1975 called Rouge no Dengon, which translates to Rouge's Message. It was released by the legendary artist Yumi Arai.
Yes, and I'd bet almost anything that if you're listening to this and you're a fan of Japanese animation, you know this melody.
Oh, without a doubt.
Famously known all around the world as the opening theme for the beloved Studio Ghibli movie, Kiki's Delivery Service.
Right!
Yeah, it plays perfectly in sync with that scene where the young witch Kiki is flying on her broom, listening to her red radio, and embarking on this hopeful journey to a new town.
It has this incredibly upbeat, innocent, wind-in-your-hair vibe to it in the movie.
It really does.
But, you know, when you actually sit down and read the lyrics, the story is not about an innocent young witch at all.
Not even a little bit.
No. It is a vibrant, somewhat fiery story of an independent, charming woman who hops on a train to actively punish her cheating boyfriend. So I have to ask, how does a literal revenge song become the anthem for a flying preteen witch?
It's a hilarious and just brilliant contrast, isn't it?
It really is.
To understand why it sounds so bouncy and optimistic, despite the subject matter, you really have to look at the musical context of the 1970s. This track is an early masterpiece of what is called Japanese city pop.
Ah. Okay. And for those who might not know, city pop usually has this very breezy, cosmopolitan, feel-good sound, right? Like the soundtrack of a booming, affluent era in Japan.
Exactly. It's heavily influenced by light, upbeat American oldies. But there's actually an even more fascinating backstory to this specific track's energy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The year before this was released, in 1974, Yumi Arai actually toured with a wildly famous Japanese rock band called Carol.
Wait, the band led by Aikichi Ozawa?
The very same, the rock and roll legend himself.
That's wild. So she was hanging out with these hardcore leather jacket wearing rebellious rock guys.
She was. And you can totally hear how that take no prisoners rock and roll energy kind of rubbed off on her.
I can completely see that.
She took that rebellious attitude and wrapped it up in a polished, sophisticated city pop bow. It creates this incredibly confident, unapologetic narrative.
I love that background so much. It really frames the whole character we're about to talk about.
It definitely sets the stage.
So let's take a calm, gentle walk through this story. We're going to follow our protagonist's emotional and physical journey, lyric by lyric, and really appreciate the artistry of how she exacts her revenge.
Let's do it. The story drops us right into the middle of the action, basically at the very beginning of her journey away from him.
Right. She sings, and to understand her exact mindset here, the cultural nuance translation for that phrase is, in order to meet his mother, I have now boarded a train all by myself.
Okay, so my immediate reaction here is, isn't this kind of childish?
How do you mean?
Well, if you have a fight with your partner, dragging their parents into it usually feels like a massive taboo. You're practically pressing the nuclear button on the entire relationship.
You're not wrong. It absolutely is a taboo, and I totally understand why it might sound a bit petty or childish at first glance.
Right.
But that is exactly what makes this opening lyric so incredibly brilliant. She isn't just running away blindly in tears. She is strategically targeting his absolute weakest point, his mom, the ultimate authority figure.
Exactly. She knows that for him, his mother is his greatest natural enemy. By going straight to the boss, so to speak, she reveals her cool, witty, and highly calculating nature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's completely bypassing the messy argument.
Okay, I see what you mean now. She doesn't need to stand there and yell at him, because she's just going to outsource the yelling to the one person he literally can't argue back with.
Precisely. And look at the second half of that thought.
Yeah.
I have now boarded a train all by myself.
Yeah.
This line beautifully balances two completely different emotional states. On one hand, you have the impulsive, fiery momentum of storming out of the apartment.
Like slamming the door behind you.
Right. But on the other hand, you have the lonely, quiet determination of sitting alone on a moving train. Have you ever been so furious that you stormed out, but the second you were alone, the silence was almost deafening?
Absolutely. Your adrenaline is pumping, you've made your grand exit, but then you're just sitting there static, alone with your thoughts.
Exactly. It instantly pulls you, the listener, right into the tension of the drama.
Which brings us to the next lyric, as she's sitting there looking at the window of that train.
Right. And the exact cultural nuance of this feeling is overtaking the twilight streets and the flow of congested cars with a sidelong glance.
It's such a visual line, isn't it?
It really is. I actually want to focus on that word, tasugare, or twilight. It feels very cinematic, like the physical speed of the train is perfectly mirroring her racing heartbeat.
That's a beautiful way to picture it. Tasogare isn't just a time of day in Japanese poetry. It marks the dramatic boundary between day and night.
Oh, interesting.
The sky is changing colors, which perfectly represents a major transition in her own life. And the way she describes looking at the city is crucial to understanding her mindset.
Right, she gives it a sidelong glance. She's not, like, staring out the window wistfully. She's practically rolling her eyes at it. Looking at the congested city with a sidelong glance represents a very specific kind of cool urban pride.
Urban pride.
Yeah, remember? This is the city pop era. Urban sophistication was a huge cultural theme for independent women in Japan at the time.
Ah, that makes sense.
So by looking out from a moving train at the traffic jams below, just a sidelong glance, she is treating the congestion, and by extension, the messy life she left behind in the city, as entirely irrelevant to her now.
It's a total power move. She's making a very clear statement. You are all stuck in traffic, you are stuck in your messes, but I am moving ahead.
Exactly.
So as the city fades away in her rearview mirror, let's shift our focus to what she actually left behind in that apartment, because we finally get to the titular message of the song.
Yes, the ultimate evidence.
She sings, "He must be noticing it by now. The message I left in the bathroom written in lipstick."
I mean, I love the theatricality of this, but let's be real for a second. Why lipstick on a mirror? What do you mean?
Well, if she just wanted to tell him she was leaving, a sticky note on the fridge does the job, right? Why go full Hollywood drama?
That's a great question, because sure, a paper note would certainly be more practical, but
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal artistic choice that perfectly captures Yumi Arai's unique sensibility.
Okay.
Think about the space itself. A bathroom is a highly private, intimate area. It's where you go to face yourself.
Literally. It's just you and your reflection in there.
Exactly. By writing the message on the mirror in bright red lipstick, she has created undeniable proof of his sin.
Oh, wow.
Think about his experience when he walks in. He can't just read the words like he would on a piece of paper. He has to look at his own face, his own guilty reflection through her bright red words.
That is incredibly agonizing for him. It's like a glowing neon sign of guilt planted right in his sanctuary.
And then he cannot ignore it. A piece of paper can be crumpled up and thrown in the trash, lipstick on a mirror.
Yeah, you have to actually scrub that off.
Right. He physically has to take a wet cloth, stand there, and wipe away the mess he caused. It shows the protagonist's intellectual composure.
She really thought this through.
She did. She isn't just angry. She is almost finding amusement in picturing him turning pale as he walks into that bathroom and sees what she's done.
But, you know, here's where the reality of her Hollywood exit starts to catch up with her.
Yeah, the adrenaline wears off a bit.
Exactly. The thought of that bathroom mirror brings the sudden wave of reality, shifting her emotions from bold defiance to something a bit more vulnerable.
Right. She sings, "While my anxious feelings remain, the town recedes into the distance along with the rhythmic sound of the train."
It's a very striking image.
It is. And the word that really jumps out to me here is ding dong. Usually when you hear ding dong, you think of a doorbell or maybe a church bell.
But in this context, it feels highly mechanical, like the rhythmic sound of the train tracks themselves or the railroad crossings flashing past her window.
You're picking up on a brilliant use of onomatopoeia there. The unstoppable rhythm of the train, that constant ding dong, is acting as a physical force.
A physical force.
Yeah, it forcefully washes away her hesitation, because she clearly admits here that her anxious feelings remain. She's sitting there wondering, was this really the right choice? Did I push this too far?
It's so relatable. Have you ever been so fired up making a huge dramatic exit, but the second you get on the highway, you're like, wait, what am I actually doing?
Exactly. And there's a really lovely subtle nod to traditional Japanese aesthetics here.
Oh, Oh, how so?
Well, in older Japanese poetry, there's a beautiful trick where writers use the physical landscape to show you how someone is feeling inside, rather than just stating the emotion outright.
So instead of saying, I can't turn back, she uses the train tracks to say it for her.
Right. The train isn't stopping for her anxiety. So her anxiety simply has to be left behind with the scenery receding into the distance. The physical momentum of the train forces her to commit to her choice, even if she's starting to sweat a little bit.
So to combat that lingering anxiety, she has to comfort herself. She reminds herself of the ultimate weapon she is about to deploy tomorrow.
The trump card.
Yes.
And the exact cultural nuance for this line is, tomorrow morning I'm going to have his mother scold him over the phone, my darling.
Okay, I have to stop you here because I am genuinely confused.
Oh, it's confusing.
Well, she is furious enough to vandalize his mirror with lipstick and skip town, but she ends the thought by calling him my darling. What on earth is the psychology behind that?
It is a totally jarring contradiction, isn't it? But this is arguably the most unique and revealing aspect of the entire song.
Really?
Yeah. Most breakup songs would have the protagonist say, I'll never forgive you, or we're done forever. She doesn't say that?
No, she doesn't.
Instead, she relies on his mother to punish him. By doing this, she is essentially treating him like an eternal child.
Oh. So she's stripping him of his adult dignity. Like, you can't even handle a grown-up relationship, so I'm calling your mom.
Exactly. She is manipulating the family power balance to completely gain the upper hand. And that term, my darling, reveals her true mixed feelings.
I see.
It is a potent mix of love and hate. She's furious, yes, but the fact that she still lovingly calls him my darling implies that she actually has no real intention of ending the relationship.
That makes perfect sense. If she truly hated him and was entirely done, she wouldn't care if his mom scolded him or not. She is scolding him because she wants to fix his behavior.
Exactly.
It's a massive power play.
It really is.
Yeah.
And knowing his mother's going to completely lay into him tomorrow morning, she starts to imagine what he's doing right now back in the apartment.
Right. She sings, which means he is undoubtedly in a state of panic by now. The dynamic here is just so fascinating to me because physically she is entirely alone in this train car, but mentally she isn't looking at the Twilight scenery anymore. She is entirely consumed by him and his reaction.
Yes, her mind is completely back in that bathroom. What's fascinating here is the simple word awateteru, which means panicking.
Okay.
It paints a slightly pathetic, flustered, but very vivid picture of him running around the apartment, completely losing his cool.
Probably staring at the mirror, hyperventilating, trying to figure out how to wipe off the lipstick before his mom finds out.
Exactly. And notice the speculative ending she uses kurio, meaning undoubtedly or must be.
Ah, so she's certain.
Yes. It proves just how perfectly she knows his personality. She knows exactly how he operates under pressure. And this realization is crucial to the tone of the song.
How so?
It turns out what could have been a very serious, depressing story about a woman running away from a broken home into a rhythmic, movie-like romantic game of cat and mouse.
She is completely directing this movie. She set the stage, she wrote the script on the mirror, and he is just an actor hitting his marks perfectly.
Exactly.
So if he is panicking, what is his next move? She anticipates his desperation in our final lyric.
She sings,
In English, the exact nuance of the sentiment is, I wonder if he's calling all our friends at random, desperately asking where I might have gone.
it's quite the image.
It really is, and I want to dig into the nuance of the phrase tetari shidai, which means at random or without picking and choosing.
Okay.
Is she secretly hoping that he makes an absolute fool of himself in front of their entire social circle just to prove that he actually cares?
You've hit the exact psychology of the lyric right on the head. Imagining him frantically calling all their mutual friends, completely abandoning his pride and not caring how embarrassing it looks to the outside world, gives her a paradoxical sense of relief.
Because if he's willing to look foolish, it means she actually matters to him.
Right. Leaving without telling him her destination isn't actually about escaping him. It is a grand, elaborate demonstration designed to extract a tangible proof of love from him.
That is so deeply calculated.
It is. It perfectly captures the complex psychology of a 1970s urban woman. On the surface, she wants to be forceful. She has her immense urban pride. She demands respect.
Yeah.
Yet underneath all that armor, she is deeply afraid of loneliness. She needs to know he will chase her.
It's so layered. We've gone from a lipstick-stained mirror to a lonely train ride to a masterclass in psychological warfare via a mother-in-law, all disguised as an upbeat pop song.
When you look at the complete emotional journey, it's the story of a deeply hurt woman who absolutely refuses to play the victim.
Right.
She wipes her tears, gathers her strength, and launches a calculated counterattack using her bright lipstick as her weapon of choice. Yumi Arai took a raw emotional idea, perhaps sparked by the rebellious rock and roll energy of the peers she toured with, and through her overwhelming musical genius, transformed it into a highly sophisticated, timeless piece of pop culture.
It really is timeless. And you know, earlier we talked about how funny it is that this song of calculated vengeance became the theme for the innocent little witch in Kiki's delivery service.
We did.
But after breaking down these lyrics, it leaves you wondering something completely new.
What's that?
Well, when Kiki flies off on her broom in the movie to this exact song, are we supposed to view her simply as an innocent girl? Or is director Hayao Miyazaki secretly telling us that Kiki has a bit of that fiery, rebellious lipstick on the mirror spirit inside her too?
Oh.
It totally reframes how you watch that classic movie scene.
That is a brilliant point.
Oh.
It suggests that true independence, whether you are a flying witch or a 1970s urbanite on a train, always requires a little bit of that fierce, defiant spark.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we have to wrap up our lyric exploration for today. Thank you so much for listening to the show.
Yes, thank you.
We regularly pick up various Japanese songs and update detailed lyric explanations on our website. If you want to appreciate the lyrics even more deeply, please check out the link in the description.
Definitely take a look.
And if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe or follow the channel. Also, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Or if you have any requests for Japanese songs you want us to cover next, just leave a comment and let us know.
We always love reading them.
Until next time. This was Japan Lyric Room.